Hey everyone, welcome to Debating Dads podcast brought to you by Brolit Factory. Before we start, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to every platform you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and everything else. So, as you know, I'm Josh. This is my boy Nader. That's my boy Quincy. And today we're talking about communication. So I literally work in the communications field of technologies, I guess you'd call it. Um, and my job is to keep people connected in whatever way I can. So it got me thinking. I was talking to Nader the other day, and I was talking about the challenges I had in life from what I thought I said and to how someone actually received what I said.
And not just anybody, but especially the women we co-parent with. It's more like miscommunication.
Exactly. So let's talk about our miscommunication in our lives.
So in the age of digital communication, to the three of us on here, do you find that all the texting and WhatsApping makes things easier or harder to
it's the best
communicate?
form of communication. It's the best form of communication. I think so.
Why is that?
No, I'm actually talking shit. Is the worst communication because emojis don't help your life. Just saying.
You mean all those?
You mean all those
insincere winky faces you sent? What about you, Quincy? How does it make your life easier or harder when you're co-parenting with all the texting, WhatsApping, the digital communication?
It depends on what the conversation is about, right? If it's a good conversation, then the emojis are good to come across, like, you take it as a haha, it's cool and fun. But when the conversations are not too going too smooth, those emojis can be misinterpreted, right?
Yes.
And and it's like we say, you can't really sense tone over text.
You cannot get tone from text.
So the
Let's
thing
repeat
is
that one more time. You cannot get tone from text, people.
Put it on a t-shirt. so what I say to that,
it's all created in your mind.
Okay, hold on, man. Listen, right?
Miscommunication.
You're talking too much shit, yo.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, it's like, okay, if you're used to someone being upset with you all the time, right? This is the tone that will be burnt into your mind. So if this person is texting you, that's the voice you're hearing, right? If this person is a kind, sweet person, always talking to you, like, with kindness in their voice, and they text you, that's how you're going to perceive it, right? So the initial interaction that you get with a person, right? The initial interaction and how it comes across, right? That's what's going to be stuck in your mind. So when you read whatever text you get, it may not even be hostile, like hostile, right? But in your mind, because you're used to this person always coming at you, in an angry manner.
Yep.
That's how you're going to perceive the messages. Right? And it's
not even angry, even like complaining too, right?
Yeah. But that's where a lot of miscommunication happens.
It's an assumption, right? Like you're just assuming that this is the way they're talking.
Well, and it's also
but exactly. But the thing is, most times it is true.
but it's also
maybe
also compounded because of the ease of convenience. Like, for example, if you had to say some of the things you had to say to someone in their face as a person, there's consequence, there's awkwardness. But if you can just fire off a text really quick, you can just fire it back, and then you get a response really quickly back. So, like, for example, I know that in my life, sometimes, texting with the mother of my children sometimes can be like these sentence fragments where you're never finishing a thought because you say, they say, you say, they say, you say, they say, and you read it back and you're like, there's no communication here.
No.
It's just, I need to say this and you need to say that and I need to say this. And
no one's answering a question.
And my father was a travel agent. He says sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and actually call someone so you can get that stuff. And then you realize that all that what you are perceiving may not be the tone, as you said, the tenor of the conversation. And I think what happens to a lot of us is because you can always sometimes send a message and then just put that message away, but you don't realize how it's going to be received. So you sent it, but I think of the word LOL as an example. LOL has gone from like trying to say you're laughing about something to basically being a passive aggressive deflecting statement. It's like, you're a piece of shit, LOL. Right?
But then again, that's how you see it, right? Like I use LOLs because I'm laughing. May not be laughing out loud, but inside I'm laughing. As I'm texting LOL.
To me, LOL is like a
done those.
To me, it's like, hey, where's the child support? LOL.
Yeah, you see, there you go. That's that assumption, right? That's what so when someone else texts it to you, you're like, yo, this girl's not even talking truth. He likes this girl.
No, it's a fantastic.
It's that scar trauma.
It is a fantastic point. Do we have any bad communication habits from our past? If so, what are they? And we made any attempt to sort of change? Josh?
Bad habits?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to call it bending the truth sometimes.
So lying, basically.
No. I like to call it bending the truth.
Okay.
When they say it takes 3 to lie.
Exactly. 3. I can't lie if you're not listening. I'm just saying. But yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
but so sometimes you have to lie to like avoid conflict because maybe you're just arguing all the time. And it's just like Baby Boy used to say, sometimes you gotta lie to spare people's feelings, But Baby Boy used to say, I lie to you because I care about your feelings. That's what Baby Boy said. Just air quote, don't sue me.
But who really believes that?
Hey, sometimes it helps.
Mm.
But what if the lie sort of comes out and it makes it worse later?
That's why you gotta be like George Costanza and remember all your lies.
Well, especially digitally. Sorry, Quincy, I'll let you go in a second. Digitally, when someone's like, yo, you said this 3 weeks ago, and they go into the WhatsApp and they pull up the search.
Again, like I don't want to come across as a liar because I'm really not, but just sometimes you have to though. Like if you get caught, then that's your fault.
Like your cooking was bad type of lying?
Yeah. Yeah, like this is delicious. Like, but not like, hey, did you cheat on me? No, I didn't.
I think there's levels to it for sure.
Yeah, like there's the white lie, then the black lie.
What about
the black lie is better than the white lie?
I definitely would say the black lie is better than the white lie. We're turning that shit around here on
flipping that shit. It was just a little black lie.
What about how do you like this dress?
How do I look in this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just believe you should just find someone that always look good in that dress. You don't have to lie about it.
So I don't think you answered the question. You literally, in a meta way, you just didn't answer the question. Quincy, you said, "What about you for you? Like, are there any bad communication habits that you had maybe in your past relationships or even now that you're trying to work on?"
All the time, still, all the time, like almost every day. I mean, sometimes I could come across pretty, as you know, pretty forceful when it's just me
Nah,
caring,
this
you know.
guy.
I can be passionate about something, and the way I push it across is like I'm really telling you, yeah, go do this shit, because if you don't do it, you suck, kind of thing. But no, I actually mean like do this because I care about how to make you, you know, how to help you improve or whatever, whatnot. That's actually what it would mean. But my delivery sometimes can use some work, and I can say that for sure. But yeah, I mean, miscommunications via text happens almost on a frequent basis. Um, simple things as what time are you bringing my daughter home, and then you
Correction,
read
our daughter.
you read that and it's like, we mean your daughter,
I think
why is
we've
your
all been
why is your
encountering that.
daughter at my house? Like, what's going on?
but the thing is, the person may not even mean it that way, right?
Yeah,
He may be laughing and
absolutely.
living
Yeah.
having a good time over there, but the way we take it, it's like, and then we
But
send back a message, we mean your daughter.
but hold on. If that's the case, if you're taking it that way,
Mm.
it must have been said that way before for you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
take it that way.
but I
You know what I
mean,
mean? You're not just a crazy person. Like, what are you talking about? Right? Like,
yeah, it could be, but it doesn't mean that, okay, because it was said that way before, that it it was meant to come across that way in that given situation, right?
obviously,
Well,
but
And that's the
but
thing.
going back to what
That's
you said
assumptions again, right?
before, it's the same thing. It's what you're expecting. It's what you're used to, right?
Yeah. So
and it's really interesting because once the communication is made, I mean, I did my undergrad in communication studies, and I remember a professor talking about that oftentimes we aren't really communicating. We're just waiting for the other person to finish so we can just say our point. So how much of what you said was actually received? And then, like, even before you're done, it's like the response is coming. You're like, well, I said that. You're like, well, I thought you said that. You're like, well, that's not what I said. Right. And so, and I can say that I'm guilty of that for
But-
sure.
So this is like, I find that the best 3 words is just to ask someone, "What do you mean?" Because
That's 4 words.
okay, sorry, I can't count. 4 words. What do you mean? And if they can't express what they mean, then they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. And it's like, but I find when I ask those questions, people get upset. It's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean? And then they just say the same damn thing again. Like, I'm just gonna be like, oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. I just didn't understand the first time you said the exact same thing.
Well, because it could factor into, like, what if you're communicating with someone in your life, even romantically or in our personal relationships, like with our parents or even our kids and whatnot. What if another person is not changing their their communication style? So, like, Josh, you're talking about that, like you're asking a clarifying question,
Yeah.
and that person is not changing that style. So something like it feel like you're speaking like English and they're speaking like French, and they're like, or it's like you're talking like apples and they're like, here's an apple, they're like, here's a brick. You're like, I wanted an apple.
Be like, yo, can you pass me
here's
the
a brick,
apple over
right?
there? And they give you a mango. It's like, this is a different fruit.
Yeah,
Like-
and sometimes it just steps back. That you look at it, especially for those of us in minority backgrounds that you're mentioning, Quincy. Like, how are we taught to communicate when we grow up? Like, you maybe expand on that for us.
How do we talk? How are we spoken to when we grow up? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like growing up from minority
okay.
backgrounds. Yeah.
So say the way our parents would communicate with us, right? Well, you know how that is. It's more commanding. It's not like
you're
really
told. You're told what to do.
Being told to do everything, and if you try to express your opinion, you're talking back.
And
you
you're boxing your mouth.
licks. You get licks. Get grounded. Everything. It's like we are taught at a young age. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of us are taught at a young age not to communicate properly. If you really look at it,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not allowed to have self-expression, right?
Yep.
Any display of emotion is seen as disrespect, right?
Or
It's
weakness.
like or weakness, yeah. So you have to basically be a robot. You just stand there and you can't even nod your head.
Yes. No, no, you have to nod your head because if there's no nodding in your
No,
head,
no,
then it's
no.
like, yo, you hear what I'm saying? Yo,
Yes, yes, sir. No, sir. It's so
my kids give me that blank stare too. They're just like, and I'm like, bro, I'm asking you a question. Guy, talk back.
you know, a problem I actually have with my son is when whatever he did doesn't work out right, and kind of bring some friction between us, you know. And I would tell him, okay, well, you did so and so. What do you have to say for yourself? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't accept that shit.
And then the next thing is, how long does it take them to actually understand that, okay, maybe I should issue an apology?
Mm,
A lot of times they don't,
no.
because then you have to be like, so do you not know how to apologize when you do something that that's not right to someone else?
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, and then they still go quiet, and then you're like, so,
Rage is
and then like,
building.
then it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, seriously,
Doesn't even matter.
seriously, that's when you just want to. It's like they reach this certain age where they just forget their manners, because when they're younger, like 3, 4, 5 years old, oh, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
may I have this, please, thank you, blah blah blah, all that stuff when they're younger. But when
But
they reach
does that come
closer
back to
to,
us though? Like, have we not been instilling
well,
it?
I
Like,
think it
I'm not.
comes back. Go ahead, sorry, Quincy. I think
Yeah,
it comes
go
back to
ahead, go
us.
ahead.
I think it comes back to us, but I will say, especially like living in a mixed family, it comes back. They are getting training, but I will say they are a YouTube generation where that's also being taught. I will say if you turn on YouTube and you turn on whatever and you just see the tone, and half the time my job is policing, between my aging parents who sometimes, like, as old as they get, they sometimes revert to juvenility as you get older, and my younger kids who want to be older, right? And then sometimes, like, your the grandma will tell my son do something, and he'll just instantly, it's that tone, why do I have to do it? And it's just like, just instant. And that is the general. If I said that to my grandfather,
You,
my
you,
God,
that
like,
doesn't happen at my house.
you
yeah.
know what it is.
Those conversations don't happen.
You know exactly what it is. They don't get licks anymore.
Hmm.
'Cause if we displayed any type of disrespect, right?
It's just
It's
done.
you're
Bang.
feeling it. So we would never forget our manners.
Yep.
We
and
would never. You're scared to forget your manners, man.
it's interesting because there are different sides to parenting, right? Because that, psychologically, it also creates systems of abuse and whatever. On the other hand, it does create discipline, right? We all come from these minority backgrounds where 100% that discipline is instilled. You don't. I'm South Asian background. You guys are Caribbean background. You don't talk shit, right? You don't talk shit to elders, especially grandparents, right? Like, like that's like god tier, right? Like, you
Grandpa
don't,
choke you out.
right? Like,
So
I remember my like, we didn't even want to read Quran sometimes, and I said something out loud, and my grandfather just brought the thunder. I looked to my dad from my dad's like, "Are you crazy?"
He's
He's
yo,
like,
like,
yo, he'll
"Are
beat me
you?"
too. Yeah.
He's like, "Are you crazy?" Like, right?
well, one thing I could actually share about my grandpa, rest his soul.
Rest his
Um,
soul.
he
Rest that
so
soul.
every time I would have my friends over, right? Uh, the way the apartment was situated, his room was the first one in the hallway. So when you come to the front door, you have we call it like a mud room kind of thing,
Right.
Hmm.
and then you come into the hallway, and his room is right there. So I would walk by, good day, grandpa, right, and continue walking, and then my friends would walk by, silent.
Mm-mm.
All you would hear is like, "Hey, you, come back here."
Uh,
It's levels
And,
of
and
respect.
but
Yeah.
listen, my grandpa grandpa would tell them about their mother. Oh my god.
What? What would he say? What would he say?
He always would say like your mom don't teach you no manners.
Yeah.
You would go off on them, and they would be scared to come back.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
you
but
see,
then
I noticed that with your house. Like you come in, everyone's like, "Yo, good name, good evening," always. And and that's honestly the only place I do that. Like if I come home, just like, "Hey, what's up?" Like there's no like good morning, like
oh
maybe there's
man,
good mornings, but like when you enter the house, like there's no like
no,
manners.
that's
Huh?
instilled in me, man. That's
Yeah.
that's old.
Yeah, even for us, when the kids come in on the weekend, it's like they're all trying to run to their electronics. I go, before you do that, you go upstairs,
Yes.
down, you find your
Yep.
grandparents,
And
you
the
say
elders, yeah.
you say assalamu alaikum, you say hello, you ask them how it was, and then give them a couple minutes of time. Then you go, because the worst thing you can do from our culture and our tradition is disrespect elders, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's just instilled is that you go, even when you go to a party, the first thing you're taught to do, go to the elders and you greet them. They should
Oh yeah,
never
They have to
have
come
to
find
come.
you. Yeah.
They should
yeah.
never have to come find you, right? And I
Mhm.
think it's crazy because we sound like our parents are like in my day, right? But yeah, we have to tell our kids in my day, this is not, and I guess for me, it's like, it's not even just saying when they're here, oh, talk to my parents. You got to make sure you call your ex's parents, because sometimes they don't see them too. I do that. I'm like, listen, these are your grandparents. It's your job. You have a phone. You should call them. Like sometimes you get calls from, your ex or whatever. You're like, could you, please tell them to call my parents, right? And I'm like, these things have to be instilled in the children at an early age. And like, it's weird because it's like your mom's finger pointing at you. You're like, yeah. And for me, I find it so interesting when I sometimes like, you know, tell my parents, I'm like, you're acting like children, right? Because as they get older, as they get more tired, and I'm like, you want to teach all these values to children, but you don't want to do them yourself. And you realize, like, as a sandwich generation, we are in between the people who taught us and the people who we have to teach.
Mhm.
I don't know. My mom is like the only one that's around still, but there's no type of discipline from her side. Like she's just like happy to have him around, like whatever you need, I'll give it to you. Like there's
Yep.
nothing. I'm constantly like, yo, don't do that. Like you have to make them say thank you and please, like with my nieces and
You're
shit.
trying to
Like,
instill those
yeah,
values,
like
right?
I gotta do. Like, oh, what are you doing? Don't pick her up yet. Like, let her. Like it's taxing. It's taxing
That's
sometimes.
one thing with me is I call my parents by their first. Well, I don't even call my dad by his first name. I call him some nickname that.
Yeah, I always found that really weird.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
call my
I was
mom
like, I was like,
by her
I was
first
like, who you
name.
talking to,
it's like
But
Simpson. It's like Simpsons. It's like shut up, mom. I want Bloodsport 2. And you're like, oh my
but
god.
but you know what? I can't do that to anybody else's parents. I cannot call them by their name. Like I can.
Mhm.
That's so hard for me to do. But my own mom, and because one thing
Yeah.
my mom used to tell me that me calling her by her name makes her feel younger.
Oh man, if you call a brown auntie by her first name without saying like
Mm-mm.
her first name plus like auntie or like the South Asian words,
Yeah,
it's like what training did you give your children, right?
yeah.
Like hey, and
That
like
that's that's going right to your parent, then it's coming back to you in the
it hundred
back of your
percent
head, yeah.
because that's what it, and then again for us with children, which will bring us to our next little point, is everything our children do and do not do becomes reflective of us, right? And then our co-parents. So in terms of like a poll, um do we see communication with our kids getting better or worse as they grow in the technological age? A, it'll get better. B, it will get worse. C, it will stay the same. Since you're the communication expert, Josh, what do you say?
What I'm going to say is repeat that question.
Do we see communication with our kids? See, communication again. Repeat the question. See, we're living it. Do we see communication with our kids getting better or worse as they grow in this technological age? A,
Mm,
it will get better. B, it will get worse. C, it will stay the same.
I think it will get worse if we allow it to go the way it's going, because the way my kids communicate right now is literally like the only time like we're like talking is like when they're telling me about their games.
Hmm.
And then I'm like asking about like our games or like anime, anything that they're interested in. It's like, but I've said this before, like you need to talk to your kids about things that they're interested in, like not just like, oh, how's school today? Like, because that's all we really care about. Not all, but like, what are you doing in school? But like, not, a lot of times we sit down and been like, what are you interested in, and how does that make you feel, and what? Let's talk about that, because a lot of times it's I find it like a blessing that like I'm still a kid at heart, and like the things that I like my kids like, because we could sit down and have these conversations about like One Piece and this character, and like, oh, that what's this guy doing, you know what I mean? Because then it's not like your kids just blathering on about something that you have no idea they're talking about, and you're just kind of like like, which a lot of parents do, and they just dismiss what they're even saying. They're like on their phone like yeah, yeah, right, and then they're like, my kid doesn't talk to me. They've been talking to you, you're just not listening.
Hmm.
Well, a lot of there are a lot of parents that think cartoons and all that stuff are nonsense, so they don't
I
even pay
know,
attention to it, right?
Yeah.
not even
And
parents,
then
people, a
yeah,
lot of people think it's
people, yeah.
nonsense. It's
So
great,
it
great
it kind of
storylines.
it kind of creates that disconnect between you and your kids because you can't relate to anything that they're interested in, right?
Hmm.
Like
So
for
so
me,
for you, Quincy, is it will get it better or worse or the same?
I think it'll get worse, right? I mean, the odd times, my son and I would sit down and watch Invincible or something like that, and Star Wars. And my daughter, we at this point we still have conversations about whatever she wants to talk about, right? Kids come up, oh, Dad, why does this happen? Or Dad, what's that? And my daughter, she could talk, man, and we just go and we go in, and I really enjoy it. But my son will be around each other and it'll be quiet. He's doing some video editing, and then, yo, Dad, look at this. And I'd be like, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. How
But
do
you
you do
see,
that?
that's where you got to jump on it. You got to
Yeah,
jump on those times, because
yeah. But then a lot of times he's headset and he's gaming with some of his friends and stuff. So
yeah.
that's where his attention is, right? But then as soon as I try to leave out, go out the door, Dad, where you going? You
Yeah.
can't even pay me no mind. So what does it
But
matter?
it's just it's literally just about being around. Like, like
Yeah, yeah.
I have the kids here, and they'll be gaming. Sometimes I'll be gaming, but it's just like having them in the space, or they'll just come in and be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, "Oh, blah blah," and then like when we're done, I'll just pull them and be like, "Hey, let's just go watch like some TV. Like, doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Let's just
you,
go
you got
sit on the
it.
couch, and just do some stuff together. And we're not even talking, but we're just like watching, and
It's
it's
just around
all that
each other.
matters. Yeah, it's just the energies.
For me, I say it'll get worse with an asterisk unless we actually do non-technological things with them. I will say some of the best communication I've had with my kids, and they're glued to devices like anybody's kids. Like some is that like when you actually force them and they fight, and it could be a basketball game, it could be making them read, it could even be going for a walk, or even sometimes when we're just driving and I pick them up in the car for those 30 minutes. I'm like, put your phone down, even if we're listening to music and we're just talking, right? And then because you know that the rest of the time they're going to get in the devices, and on top of that, as savvy as I think I am with apps and games, whatever, they're discovering stuff I never even heard of.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the hell, right?
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, and they think, they call me a boomer, and I'm like, I am
Ah,
no
you're
boomer,
not a
right?
boomer.
Like
Not a boomer,
no,
yo.
but what I realized, and this is one of those things, especially in COVID, it's been really difficult for lots of us. But I do say there is some incredible value of like literally just taking the devices out of your kids' hands, taking them to a park, and just letting them do what we did when we were kids, and just run and play. And I think some of that stuff does get lost. I mean, we used to like go out after school from like 3 to 8 p.m. and
Yep.
just like we'd come back at like dinner time, and there was no cell phones, there was no nothing. And
Yeah.
I think because there's less kids out, we're more paranoid with social media and stuff.
Well,
We
Our
don't
our
do that.
world was a lot smaller, right?
Yeah,
A lot
100%.
Mhm.
compacted. We
100%.
didn't know about all this other stuff, right? So we didn't feel as nervous being outside or whatnot, you
I,
know.
it's just like Nader said. There was more kids. Like
Yeah.
the other day, I was working and I caused an outage, and like this whole complex was down, everything, and like I'm working, and I'm looking around, and I'm just seeing. I'm like, there's kids outside. I'm like, there's people outside,
Yeah.
and there's parents outside, and people are playing outside. I'm like, what the hell, you know? And it
Yeah.
was so weird because it's like it's COVID, and it's like everyone's just in their houses. But like as soon
And
as you
you
disconnect,
did
Yeah.
something good
soon as
there,
I
man.
disconnect them, everyone's just outside. Either to be like, "What's going on? Are you fixing the problem?" To be like, "Oh, let's." Then the balls came out, the toys, and there's just kids playing. I'm like,
Look,
"This is
look what you
great.
did.
Look at this."
Look what you did.
Isn't
You
that
did
Yeah.
something good there.
what an irony of that statement is that by trying to fix something, like you actually seeing human beings trying to connect in a way that
Yeah.
is a natural way, that the
Exactly.
smaller ways you said, Quincy, like, right? It's how we used to do it.
Yeah. That was a great act that you did.
I know. I just
You
left
know,
it
that
off for a little
wasn't
longer.
that wasn't a
too.
mistake. It wasn't a mistake, man.
It was.
No.
It was. It
No.
was God's. It was God's plan.
Yeah,
God's
you
plan.
you caused a lot of happiness right there in that moment.
No, and I mean, and even in this podcast, it's been so interesting, like, because this is how we've had to connect. The three of us as friends pre-COVID had always see each other like all the time, and we've been forced to do it this way, right? It's been so interesting.
One thing actually. Sorry to cut you off, but imagine Earth Day was once a month, right? Where they turn off everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Once a month instead of once a year. Just
They
once.
should do that shit.
You know, turn off everything so people can just disconnect and appreciate other things.
But
You know?
let's start that shit. You know,
We
let's start.
should.
Let's start a protest.
Start a
or-
pro- yeah,
We're gonna start it right now because we are out of time, so we are gonna disconnect for this week. So we will see everyone in the coming weeks. We have some exciting podcasts coming up. Stay tuned to the brolitfactory.com. Go there, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Spotify, follow us on the YouTube channel. The links will be right in the podcast. Any last thoughts? Signing off, Josh Quincy.
Like and subscribe, and tell your mama and your daddy and your uncles and your sisters and your cousins about it.
Quincy.
Always strive for better communication.
And always use the eggplant emoji.
No,
Ow.
don't do that. 3, 2, 1, we out.